The mound is an expanded ID from the vertical slice and early proof of concept of the game, which made it into the final game as well. At the beginning, it was the lair of a witch the player needed to defeat, and we were inspired visually from the season 1 of True Detective, and of course, bird nests.
It's the hateful mound Jeremy talked about in his book.
Don't come any closer. I'm armed.
Get that thing out of my face.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
I'm just a detective trying to find something called Tarawea.
You after Jeremy too? Why?
I'm working for his niece. She wants to make sure he's alright.
He might be unharmed, but far from all right. He's a curse upon Deseto.
Here we go again.
Quiet!
Oh, Christ in heaven.
It was a bust. The oil rig and the hateful mound led him nowhere closer to finding Jeremy. Conde was sure he had struck gold when he found Jeremy's bag, but it was just a trap set by Lottie, another of Deseto's orderlies. Things got out of hand real quick, but somehow Conde managed to find his way back to Deseto none the wiser. At least it was one item off his list. Now he had to figure out what to do with the boiler.
Reflections on the Power of the Verb in Certain Texts by Juan Luis Jorge. To act is in itself divine. Even the slightest movement of our hand is evidence of our soul in motion. Yet our free will is so easily overwhelmed by the dullness of everyday life. Our actions become rote and rigid, in spite of luxury and comfort. True divinity is found in the choice of leaving the stage where we all perform. People who discover this freedom unexpectedly will be struck by the terror of this revelation and become paralyzed, or worse, turn to suicide. However, if you are able to weather that storm, you will discover that there is a divine path beyond that fear. There is a chance to dismount your destiny and make something new. Something that hasn't been planned for or predestined. There is difficulty in explaining this type of acting as it transcends our everyday choices. This isn't some banal decision choosing one career over the other, or even who I should marry. Leaving the stage, no matter how, isn't a matter of course correction. It's a rejection of the story that the Creator is telling.
stained. It's like some kind of rot.
You know, Mr. Waits, I saw a piece of the plate that Liza broke. I think she's been hiding them. She's not very good at it. She just chucked it into the little room with all the tools behind the boiler. I left it there. I didn't want to embarrass her by picking it up while she was looking. We went upstairs instead and played backgammon. I let her win, because she's so unhappy. The piece looked like the one on display in Cassandra's room. You know about that one already, right? Or is your eyesight really that fuzzy? I hope you don't feel bad about your glasses. You only look stupid when you squint. Maybe if you had more eyes, you would see these things. I wish you had all the eyes you needed. Your best and favorite guest, Grace.
It's another plate for the talisman. Like the other one, it's broken and missing some pieces. It's wedged shut. It worked.
Detective Conby, how good of you to come. Let me pour you a drink.
What happened here? This place looks like it was hit by a bomb.
Welcome to the madhouse, Detective.
Thanks. Did the ceiling just collapse?
I heard it was something in the attic, something that was supposed to happen but didn't. How that could have such consequences is beyond me. The truth is, I don't know why the room looks like this. But I bet your friend Jeremy does.
You know where I could find him?
Oh, somewhere in his past, I suppose. He keeps going on about that mysterious dark man. I think he is hiding from him. Or maybe he's with him. I can't really keep up. I don't worry much. Take a look around this room. You may think it looks spectacularly devastated, but I just think it's finally found its stride. It fits perfectly with the state of this place and its loonies. The same goes for the nonsense with Jeremy. In my eyes, we finally managed to match the wild ride inside all of us.
Well, I'm happy you find the evening so harmonious. I hope you don't mind me setting things right. Jeremy's business, that is. This room looks beyond my capabilities.
Good luck, Detective. Hope to see you again soon.
Yeah. Evening, miss.
Ruth seemed like a handful. Her talk about Jeremy and the dark man made it sound like she might know something. While Detective Conby was grateful to be... Ruth seemed like a handful. Her talk about Jeremy and the Dark Man made it sound like she might know something of importance, but ultimately it felt like a dead end.
Can I get some more of that whiskey?
Go ahead, Detective. I don't think I can stomach any more anyway.
Am I bothering you?
On the contrary, Detective, I enjoy watching professionals at work.
There is a big difference from the original game in this one. You can meet a lot of different characters. In the original one, I decided since the beginning that, because it was easier to do, that you will not meet any other character.
And as you all know by now, we didn't follow that suggestion. No, we chose to incorporate quite a lot of characters just because we thought it would be fun. I guess we're a little less alone in the dark, but we're fine with it.
In the Grand Parlor, you can find a piano that has crashed through the ceiling. And this is a reference to the original game. The first quest, basically, that you get as a player is that you're told there's a piano in the attic, and you should go and investigate it. And so early on in our game as well, the idea would be that you get this very same quest. But as you have to pass the Grand Parlor, we thought it would be fun.
On the commonplace of evil, there lies virtue and stark irreverence, careless thoughts of luminous indifference. But blame not the beast we once were, which science so often wished to refer. Not the wicked full of sin, it is you who stand and grin. All our good intentions aside, whereupon we build our pride. Sunless solitude, follow not this corrupting light. Prophets of confidence always crashes out of sight. Hear me, for we all bear this mark. Thus we must remain alone in the dark.
Fun to find the piano having sort of crashed through the ceiling and made a whole mess, because kind of saying this is sort of what the original, this game is sort of like the original, but not quite.
It was very fun to see the piano that went down from the attic to the ground. Yep, in the first game, the piano was here more to find a reason for the player to go upstairs more than anything else.
doing in my kitchen? I assure you. No,
I'm sorry.
I promise you. Mr. Hotwood is
I was just
nowhere
looking
near my
for-
kitchen, and neither should you be. Don't make me
I didn't
kick you
mean
out
to-
of this house.
Sorry.
Now get out!
Yeah.
Come.
It's wedged shut. It worked.
The significance of the constellation of towers may seem a bit opaque, but in my mind it all comes down to another symbol for the good and the evil within Jeremy, and in turn all of us. There are two things we find in that constellation that is of interest to us. First, the star.
The Barlow lens. Instructions. To double the magnification of your telescope, simply fit this Barlow lens to your instrument. Then operate the fine-tuners to adjust the distance between your lenses. This is easily done while looking through your eyepiece. Simply search for a position where your picture is clear and appears flat. When correctly tuned, your telescope should present a clear picture with magnificent magnification.
Aldebaran, we often just call it the Dark Sun, which is a representation of Nyarlathotep and the presence of the Dark Man. In the same constellation we also find the Pleiades, which is said to house the great library of Celano, which in our game is called Taruea. So, all in all, in this cosmic bull we find darkness in the Aldebaran and the light in Celano. Or in the terms of our game, in this celestial creature we find the Dark Man. as well as Juan, the ultimate enemy and the ultimate ally, as manifested by Jeremy. Finally, of course, what is a star constellation, if not an effort to establish order out of the chaos that is nature? Which is why the final puzzle of the game is rebuilding the constellation of towers.
When we talked about how we should fill up the second floor foyer, we discussed ideas such as a billiard table or some other kind of leisure props, but we went for adding these nightmarish statues you can see here, which is made or sculpted by Jeremy. And they are heavily inspired by Giacometti, Alberto Giacometti.
This must be that kid's room.
Don't you worry, Grace. Go play your game, bleat and bellow with the others. I won't be jealous. There will be more masquerades. However, I would love it if you would finish my mask for the feast. With love, Ruth.
Why does she seem so familiar? Huh.
Certain areas in the Tercero is designed to look very distinctly.
What a terrible thing to recognize that your betterment was an illusion. That you are so infatuated by the virtue of struggling that despite all your hard work, you made no real efforts to ever become well. Or that the treatment becomes such an obsession that instead of letting your wounds heal over time, you tear at the flesh in the hope that it will heal better and faster, if only it would bleed in the way you wanted. Do we ever become well? What do you think, Dr. Gray?
Different in themes, designs, and color palettes. And we referenced David Lynch and Wes Anderson pretty much to get some kind of absurdly quirky and eccentric colors
What you got there? You drawing something?
Nothing special. I'm just bored.
Do I know you from somewhere?
I remember you, Mr. Conby.
From where?
Don't touch that. Cassandra wouldn't like it. She wouldn't like it at all.
Do you know where she is?
I'd rather not talk about it. It makes me upset. Besides, she'll be back after the Feast of St. John.
You think?
Yup. It's all on the page, Mr. Conby. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt.
All right.
I'm gonna go now, if that's okay. I don't like to stay too long in the same place. Mr. McCoffey might find me.
Hey. Is he mean to you?
Not everyone needs to be saved, Mr. Conby. You should know that by now.
Why did that girl look so familiar? Detective Comby just couldn't quite remember. His last few years were clouded by a drunken haze, a haze which now had turned almost opaque. Considering their shared past, Grace had every right to feel slighted, but it wasn't in her nature. She was amused.
Miss Beauregard, I picked up your medicine at the post office today. As you understand, it needs to be administered by the orderlies for your safety. I've put the box in Lottie's room for now, and I'm sure she will find you as soon as possible. Mr. Waits.
And as a player, I really like the fact that you need to understand and solve the puzzle, understand the story, because in nowadays game, it's more and more rare to let the player trying to solve the mystery by himself and not be taken by hand by the game.
The rot made the shape of a snake. There must be something important to find here. Maybe it has something to do with the numbers on the labels. It's another one of those strange padlocks.
The medicine bottles had stains of rot on the labels, suggesting some greater shape. They just needed to be put in the right order. But for what purpose?